recording. And we won't really start anything for 4 minutes. Are you ready?
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
Wait, we're really not gonna for 4 minutes?
Well, I mean, we can talk, but we got to wait for people to show up.
Okay. But we're on right now, and anybody who has shown up can hear this.
Yeah, but I think I'll see them when they show up.
Okay.
I think.
I kind of want to tweet, we're on,
Okay,
you know?
do it.
Okay, some of that.
I'll retweet it. Oh, there are 3 attendees.
Okay.
Okay, there's so few. I
And
think
you know who they are, but I don't.
I do. So Andy Harding is with us.
Wonderful.
My friend Becca from Mount Vernon is with us, and Isaac Tucker, who was a CMC person, and Lori Shearer, who's also a CMC person. So we have some CMC people.
Sweet.
Yep. So people are arriving. As you arrive, feel free to ask questions. There's a Q&A.
Or make comments.
Or make it, well, they can't, I've disabled the chat because that's where these things have gotten bad. So, I mean, not
Okay.
that our little crowd here would be bad, but like in the professional world, there's been some like
Gotcha.
Zoom bombing and stuff. So
Mm.
our people are able to use the Q&A, but there's no chat for them. It's safer that way. Oh, Lisa Anderson is with us.
Okay.
Tom.
Oh, how wonderful. Lisa Anderson, let me just say, among the best photographs of me in existence are from Lisa Anderson.
Yes.
So I owe her an awful lot. Thank you, Lisa.
I'll probably say this many times, but our guests, our attendees, can send us a question, and they are welcome to do that at any point. We now have 9 attendees. So David, do you want to say anything while we're waiting for everybody to show up? We still have a couple of minutes.
You bet. Yes, I will just say that I'm David Dark. I am honored to be the sibling of Elizabeth Dark, and we have lived some life together over the years. And I'm broadcasting from Nashville in a mostly pleasant situation, and I'm eager to hear from you to describe yourself. If you can look away for the people. Yes.
So this is one of the reasons we're doing this. I've got to figure out how to say things while also monitoring things. And there's already a question. Okay.
Okay. Before we get to the question, can you just who you are?
My name is Elizabeth Dark. I am a sibling of David Dark's, and I am coming to you all from Mount Vernon, Ohio. This is my house. This will not be the background when I'm doing this for professional purposes, but I did not want to get out of my house today. And if you haven't been on a webinar before, this is what I understand them to be from the host perspective. You can't, as an attendee, I am not allowing any chat for this. Even though I trust all of you, I'm practicing the way I will do this later in the week. So there's no chat feature. I can see you. David cannot see you. I can see your names. I cannot see your faces. David cannot see anything. I'm sort of like the all-knowing one right now. But I can receive your questions, and I can ask David your questions.
And they can ask you questions.
They can ask me questions. I might take a question and answer it myself and not ask it to you, whatever I want to do. Thank you, Katie Manning, for testing me. Yeah, some people are asking inappropriate questions. So
Really?
yeah, because I asked people to try to botch this.
Gotcha. So these are knowingly inappropriate
Yeah,
questions.
from wonderful people who are top-notch, stellar.
They're playing a role right now.
They're playing a role. They're
They're not being inappropriate.
not
They're pretending to be
inappropriate.
inappropriate.
Right.
Okay.
They're being a friend by doing what I asked them to do. So while we're waiting a little bit longer, and maybe I should stay at my table for a moment. David, would you like to run around in like 15 seconds and grab 3 items that you can share with us?
I'm ready to do that.
Are they within like arm's reach? Do you need time?
I'm looking at one. I don't know that I need more than 10 seconds to
Right.
grab 3 things that I'll be happy to talk about.
Okay. Do you need me to count down? Are you okay?
No.
Okay.
Do you want me to do it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, your shirt is filthy. What is up? What happened to your shirt? That's my question.
Oh, okay. Well, the shirt
You did it on purpose.
is,
Like from here up, you look completely.
it is not, it is a
bottoms.
design.
What?
There is no filth. That is what the shirt is supposed to look like. That it's from Tom York's Anima Technologies album tour, and I think it's supposed to communicate or signify pollutants, but it is not a dirty shirt. It's a clean shirt. I would not wear a shirt that I had mowed the lawn in for this webinar. I wouldn't do it.
Did you choose that shirt for this webinar, or did it just happen to be what was on you?
It did just happen to be what I was wearing, and I'm happy with it. I'm kind of enjoying orange lately.
Yeah.
I have some objects.
Okay. Go.
And you are going to grab some objects in a moment. Okay.
How about I go do that?
This.
You want to talk about
Okay,
your
go do that while I talk about it.
Okay.
Yes. This is a DVD that I bought at Videodrome in Atlanta, which is an amazing, it's a DVD store. It's like a single store Blockbuster type thing. And they just, I want to take a bath in Videodrome. It's a beautiful muscle memory kind of place because all of these rare films and popular films are there. And Shutter Island is one of my favorite Martin Scorsese films. And I got it for maybe $2. And I would say of Shutter Island that it does what every Scorsese film does, but maybe better than all other Scorsese films. My other object is a postcard that features Walt Whitman on it. And I have a neighbor who collects Civil War artifacts. And if I was only going to do 3 objects, but where I have this displayed on my shelf, there is an actual Confederate Army bullet that was found in the ground and a Union Army bullet. And I have them placed next to each other because Walt Whitman worked in hospitals during the Civil War. And my other one is Gold Connections album. I have more than one copy. This one I haven't opened. It's Will Marsh, amazing band. You should follow him on, I don't want to shoot on anybody, but if you access the music, you would find that the heart of rock and roll is still beating in the country, and it beats in the music of Gold Connections.
Okay.
That's what I've got.
All right.
On my objects. How about your objects?
I want to.
And maybe go right into the objects, or maybe there's some questions you want to entertain.
I'll do our object segment first.
Okay.
And I'll apologize because on my end, because I chose to stay at home instead of going into work, the connection, at least for me, is a little sometimes. And I don't know if that's the case for others or not, but I'm sorry.
Okay.
So I just grabbed some objects. None of my, oh, one of them is a cultural reference, pop culture reference, because it was quickly grabbable. This is
Oh
a
my goodness.
TARDIS, time and relative dimensions in space. It's bigger on the inside, and it is used by a Time Lord.
Wonderful. Totem.
Huh?
Sacred totem, I said. It's a life-giving tradition, Dr. Who.
Yeah. I used to, for those of you in the audience, I used to film or VCR tape. Videotape Doctor Who for my brothers when they were at band practice, so that they could watch it when they got home, which means I actually watched it more than they did because I watched it twice. Once completely alone, which was terrifying. And then with them, which was a little bit better. I also grabbed what was once a stuffed animal for my youngest daughter. It was a monkey that had arms coming from its jaw, and it kind of scared her, so she gave it to our dog, and it's now our dog's favorite toy, but it is only now this. So we call this severed monkey head, and it is Bean's favorite thing. And then last thing, Bean is my dog. I found this picture of our mom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Look at the dude. I will throw in, because it's a lovely story, that she's a redheaded person.
Yes.
And when she was growing up, there were kids who said to her, drawing from Red Scare stuff, better dead than red, to which she said, better red than dead in the head, which I think was a powerful rejoinder.
And I think she probably said it when she looked about that age. I can imagine that coming out of her mouth.
I suspect so. She looks like someone who would. I can.
Yeah. Okay, we have 20
I can
questions.
too. Oh my gosh.
I'm not gonna answer. I'm not gonna ask all of them, but let's see. David, what is your favorite Micronaut toy?
Micronaut toy. Oh, that is fantastic.
From Greg Green.
Oh, fantastic. I know that Greg and I have the Micronaut. We share some Micronaut love, probably both the comic book and the toy. And I know that Greg has some Micronauts. Probably Biotron. Biotron is this bulky red robot that in the comic book was almost like a, I don't know, sort of a cosmic figure, sort of like C-3PO as a wise bearer of ancient intelligence. So I think my favorite Micronaut is probably Biotron. Thank you for that, Greg. That's great.
Greg is also asking me about the poster behind me, which is right there. That is a poster of the Kokosing Gap Trail. It is, I can walk, I mean, it's right by my house, but it's a Rails to Trails project. So in Ohio, and I think in other areas too, they've turned old railroad tracks into trails for biking and running and walking and whatnot. And currently they are very, very crowded. So it's kind of wonderful, but we have easy access to that. Dave Lee Smithy says, can you lean back from the camera? You're freaking me out just a little.
Lee wants me to lean back?
Yeah.
Lee Smithy wants me to, okay, I'm gonna put my glasses on then.
Okay. Lisa, That's actually much better, David. He's right.
Really?
Lee was right.
I was enjoying observing my own face. But that's okay. This will work too. Sorry, Lee.
Lisa Cockle says, hi. Good to see our beautiful faces. Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much. I think you're in California now. Jason asks me, Jason DeLongchamp asks, what kind of brother was David growing up? I have to say he was great. It's true. I was spoiled rotten by my two brothers, and I have no complaints. I think I was probably the more difficult of the three. And yeah, when I was a kid, this recently came up on Twitter, David. I was crying like I was a baby in the back seat, and they would sing songs to me, including, and they would make them up. But the one that we talk about a good bit is little baby girl sleeping in her bed. Little baby girl has a great big head. Something like that.
We have great big heads.
We do. We have
and
large
yeah, that was for yeah, on car trips. We could do that, and we sang that song. And trying to soothe you.
Thank you. Let's see. Thank you, Kelly. She loves the beams in my living room. David, what book or author inspired you to be a writer, and what phase of life were you in?
Okay, so the first book that I read out loud to our mom, and she complimented me on the way I was reading, was Richard Adams' Watership Down. And I do think of that as the beginning of kind of thinking that I had a voice. From there, yeah, so Richard Adams for sure. But Dostoevsky kind of described the way his characters spoke, the way I felt a lot of the time. So I think Dostoevsky was the beginning of, I want to give this a try. And maybe mentioning that is an interesting way of noting that my deep hope, it's maybe good to have this out loud. I love writing about Radiohead and the Bible and politicians and all of that kind of thing. But my big hope, even at 50, is that I will become a novelist, and that my novels will be so interesting and compelling that all of the nonfiction will be viewed as interesting developmental work toward fiction. So fiction is the hope, but probably Wendell Berry and Annie Dillard and folks like that are people who I think I can do what they're doing nonfiction wise, and fiction wise, I'm still hoping, trying, aspiring.
Going off of Radiohead, we've been asked what our favorite Radiohead songs are. I'll start because I think your answer is going to be a lot longer. Mine vary depending on the season and my own emotional state. But currently, the one that I'm playing a lot is Present Tense.
Wow. That one is very, very popular in our house as well. Sarah, my partner, and Peter, my son, sing it together, and I get in there too sometimes. If I can have two, if I could only have one, it is Reckoner off of In Rainbows, because I think that that is a mission statement, obviously, for them. But a close second is The Numbers off of Moonshaped Pool.
There are a number of other Radiohead questions because of your shirt. So how about you take a moment to talk about what you've already written about Radiohead? And you're frozen for me at least. Other people are saying that David is freezing too. Fortunately, that's not my fault. Dave?
Okay. Yes, can you hear me right now?
Yeah, you're still a little shaky. Did you get my question? Have I been
Okay.
weird to you or?
No, I
Okay,
did get your question, and I'm ready to start talking about Radiohead.
go.
I'm gonna do it.
Okay, I should probably just go.
Okay, there's a moment in George Orwell's 1984 in which someone is being tortured, and the tortured person is, well, the person doing the torturing says, I can tell by looking at you that you're imagining that even though you're going to be tortured and killed, there will be a future in which you might be remembered as a hero. That's not going to happen because we, Big Brother, control the future. We have destroyed the future. And this is what the future is. It is a boot pressed on a human face forever. And that's a very grim image of the future. I like to think of Radiohead and much of what I think of as apocalyptic expression as the voice of the boot. Excuse me, no, sorry, I got it totally wrong. Can't believe I said that. The voice of the human face beneath the boot. And I think that Radiohead, like so much that I love, is that human voice in a really, really oppressive time. And they give me a lot of hope. Reckoner and the Numbers are among their most hopeful songs. And yeah, I'll note that, yeah, this is going back a ways, but they are the measure in a lot of ways for a form of creative prophetic witness. They didn't originate it, obviously, but they're kind of in there with Shakespeare and the prophet Ezekiel and all manner of sacred expression. Arrives is not finished, but is they're picking up on that sacred thing, as are so many other less famous people. But I find that I go to Radiohead as much or more than any other musical act.
We've been asked what we individually are on the Enneagram.
Ooh.
So I think I took the test falsely a few years ago, or I was answering questions with an unclear head or something. And I don't know the Enneagram all that well, but I was coming out as a helper, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I think that I had sort of become a helper, and I'm probably breaking like all the Enneagram rules, but bottom line, I'm not a helper. I'm a 9, which is peacemaker. So that's me.
As far as I know, that is what I am as well. And that some people doubt that because lately I seem to be something of a provocateur, especially on Twitter. But I will say that that's me being a deep 9, because I've always had this sense, but I've especially had a sense in the last 3+ years that conflict avoidance is at the heart of all of our suffering. So I have felt prompted. I don't like it. I think I could say I don't like it, but I have felt compelled to dramatize particular contradictions that we are sustaining as Americans these days. And I felt like it's my job as a peacemaker
You're freezing.
Uh,
Your job as a peacemaker, or
to remind everyone possible.
David,
Norm.
Dave.
Yes.
Um,
Am I with you now?
you are, at least for me, you got all warbly when you said my job as a peacemaker is.
Okay. I think that my job as an aspiring peacemaker is to lovingly but honestly remind myself and others of what's actually going on in terms as an adult in the room, and reminding myself and others that adults in the room have the power and the responsibility to call out untruth when it is voiced in our presence. So it's been an interesting time to be a 9, but I think I'm a 9.
Yeah, I think I'm a 9 too. But I know you've done like talks about this and stuff. I haven't. I just took the test. Oh, here's a good one from Elliot, who happens to know that finite, and I guess this is a reference to finite and infinite games. What are your thoughts on living the infinite game in a pandemic?
Ooh, I think being alive to the possibilities around us, possibilities for care, affirmation, caretaking, mindfulness. For folks who don't follow it, a finite game is a game that only has winners and losers. A finite game is a game that ends. A finite game is played within rules, but an infinite player plays with rules, plays with boundaries, and an infinite player is not interested in winning so much as interested in keeping the play going. And I think we are in a unique time. There's less haste, possibly, in our exchanges with people, and if we can slow the tape and thereby hear better meanings in one another's sentences, words, and we can listen better, and we can go down tangents, and we can we can sit perhaps with our own anxiety and agitation in a way that it's harder to do when everything's moving quicker, and we're tempted to view every moment of every day as a missed opportunity. We can calm down and hopefully be more aware of the beauty and opportunity around us. That's part of what I think of when I think of trying to be an infinite player in our Corona world.
Lisa wants to know what we are listening to during, where did it go? Music. What music is speaking to us during these shelter-in-place days?
How about you?
Well, I have a playlist. It's called Social Dancing.
Nice.
And let's see, it's long, but lots of John Prine I've added the past few days. Really, it's kind of shifting to a John Prine playlist. Step Outside in the Morning Light, David Kitt. Underneath the Bunker, REM, appropriate. One Voice, the Waylon Jennings. Are You All Right, Lucinda Williams. Julie Lee, Will There Really Be a Morning? Over the Rhine, Only God Can Save Us Now. And there's some more. I'll stop there.
Okay.
Oh, Hold On to Me, Cowboy Junkies.
Wonderful. We are listening to a lot of REM. I'll mention, if you didn't know, that today is the day, 40 years ago,
Yeah.
that they played their first concert, which is exciting.
Where
Lot
were
of
they?
REM.
Where were they?
Athens, Georgia.
We have some Athens people on.
Um, Sweet. Color Revolt from me, of Oxford, Mississippi. Gold Connections, certainly. Joni Mitchell. A lot of Arcade Fire. Some Chance the Rapper. And a lot of Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan gave us his first new song in maybe 8 years, called Murder Most Foul. It's 16 minutes long. I recommend it to everyone, as well as Peter Case's song, I Shook His Hand, which is also about the Kennedy assassination and more.
Okay. Sorry, let's see, we did that one. David, how do you think COVID-19 will change the higher education landscape? That's from one of my former students.
I don't know. I think that going into debt for a degree was something of a harder sell already with each passing year. I just don't know. I would love to think that a liberal arts education, which I think of as a liberating artfulness education, will become valued even more. I have a question and an admonition that I think of as being at the core of a liberal arts education. The question is, who do you credit and why? And the admonition is from Beck: don't believe everything that you breathe. And I think both of those really get at becoming people who are critically conscious and politically conscious. And higher education, that which is advertised as higher education, can deliver on both of those. But the marketing of higher education, I think, is going to be having was already having a tough time, but is going to have an even tougher time now. So I'm not sure. I know that all my courses obviously are online now, and my deep hope is that I'm bringing students something unique and helpful. But for courses that don't work that way for students, it is a tougher thing to sit still for. It's a tougher thing to go into debt for than ever, perhaps. So perhaps tough times for the incentive structure called higher education.
Okay. Someone wanted to know how many people are listening right now. We are at 45, and thank you, because this, while I know that you all love us, this is extremely helpful for me in figuring out how to navigate, or even like order. I'm totally botching the order of the questions I'm asking, so that's something that I get to think about this week. But Carrie,
both available on afterwards.
No, we cannot be reached when this is over. But I'll ask a question from my friend Kelly, because I know she has a young one, and I don't know how long she can wait or how long she can stay on. Hey, Kelly. She says, I think this came up in our conversation about peacemakers and the Enneagram, the idea of conflict avoidance being at the root of suffering really resonates with me. Can you say more about that?
Yes. Let me throw in right away that denial is my mode as well, and conflict avoidance of a sort. I avoid conflict all day long. And as a country, we each share custody of our elected officials, whether it's our senators, our representatives, mayor, governor, president. And I think we see, especially in the White House right now, we watch medical professionals and millionaires stand in front of a camera while, I'm going to say it, while an unrepentant sexual predator makes stuff up off the top of his head. In China, a doctor risked his own life to tell the truth to the people of China, was forced to renounce his own findings concerning this virus by his party because perhaps his family was threatened. And then he died of the virus. In America, an alleged free country, millionaires stand on camera and let him make lewd jokes, lie, and generally behave like the toxic man that he is. Anyone at any time within that circle could step forward. And this is like a live action fairy tale version of what happens in homes, schools, offices, corporations across the land. So all of these little acts of conflict avoidance add up after a while, and our social safety net is eroded, chaos, all this kind of thing. But positively, more positively, we all have tiny ways, and some of us have big ways of stepping forward and saying what's true. I'm about to end the monologue, but I'm going to throw it a question. Am I responsible for the lies I let other adults speak in my presence unchallenged? I believe the answer largely is yes. And I think if we take that question on locally, stately, nationally, within our sphere of responsibility, I think we enter into a better world in a troubled time. We begin to build a better world in our neighborhoods, in our homes, and all of that. That's my TED talk on the conflict avoidance thing. Overcome the learned helplessness that has given us, that has yielded with humiliating exactness the world that we're in.
Off of that, Alex asks, or says, and then asks, David, your navigation of language seems, at least at times, fearless.
Thank you, Alex.
What are one or two things you are afraid of, big or small, and how do you handle fear?
Wow. I am afraid of anyone I know and care about dying in a place of deep despair. I worry, this is probably the 9th thing too. I find myself trying to hopefully spin the existence of anybody that I'm talking to, even if I've only known them for 5 minutes. So I think I do have a fear of abject despair preceding the flat line for any human being. And I lose sleep over this. I lose sleep over people within my ambit of concern slipping into despair. And I try to talk people out of despair, probably all day long to a degree. That there's a big fear. And then a small fear is somebody counting on me and me having communicated with them that they can count on me and through negligence or distraction, completely failing that person. So there is a fear of failure, but it is mostly personal, failing people personally. Them's are some fears, Alex. Thank you for the question.
Tom, who's speaking to us from the Northwest, going back to Radiohead, and he did some edits, so I'm. Has Radiohead ever made aesthetic or philosophical statements that indicates they mean to engage such prophetic motifs, or is that more of a subjective external evaluation on your part?
Fantastic.
I added on your part.
I love it. I want to say that subjective external evaluation is all any of us can do as we try to understand each other, that it's all interpretation all the time. But I will throw in, there's just too much to delve into, but I will note that from interviews, I have the impression, and from lyrics, I have the impression that they, perhaps especially Tom York, are deeply versed in sacred traditions. One big one, a copy of William Blake's Songs of Innocence and Experience was found in a thrift store, and somebody noted that the lyrics to OK Computer, at least partially, were scrawled on various pages of that copy of William Blake's Songs of Innocence and Experience. And it was Tom York's handwriting, and it was eventually verified by Tom York himself that a large portion of the OK Computer lyrics were drawn out of that. Blake, Orwell, well, their own sources, which Tom York describes at length in a wide variety of contexts. Like so many of the acts that I enjoy, they don't wear, if within the question there is the wondering if they have made confessional statements, I don't know that they have, but I admire, what is a confessional statement? They have said, perhaps sarcastically, that they are all Church of England, but maybe that's not sarcastic. I don't need, I do think of them as participating, being knowing practitioners of beloved community, which of course draws on Buddhism and humanism and Christianity and all of those things.
Gar says howdy, folks. And howdy, Gar. I will comment that Gar is a friend of ours from when I was very small. Very small.
He's also a nurse. Let's note that he's a nurse, and his life is. Yeah.
I was going there. I guess I met Gar when I was in elementary school, middle school. But yeah, Gar is a nurse and is working right there with all the people who need us the most. So thank you, Gar. Gar also sent me 2 records for my birthday a month ago, which was phenomenal. Mazzy Star being one of them. So thank you, Gar. And Coble is so happy that this is happening. My friend Becca, who lives here in town, she and her husband run an amazing literally an apothecary. She has asked, do you consider Walt Whitman to be a transcendentalist or a realist?
Perhaps predictably, I think he is both a realist and a transcendentalist. I think that he would be one of those, and all of the work notes this, the phrase that King picked up from somewhere, that we all exist in an inescapable network of mutuality. I don't view that as, it is a romantic notion, but it's also a higher realism than reducing resources, people, to dollar value. So I want to say that while he does call us into the Thoreau, Emerson kind of transcendental view of things, that he's also deeply realistic. I mentioned that Ursula K. Le Guin says that artists are realists of a higher reality or a higher sense of what's real. And I think that Walt Whitman is certainly that.
Could you each select a poem nearby and read it to us? I'm not near, I'm gonna run away for a second. Can you get yours with ease?
Well, I will do something really crazy. While you are doing it, I am going to try to recite. I'm going to pull it up on my computer so that I don't miss it. And while I'm pulling it up,
are you going to do Stafford? Are you going to do William Stafford?
Yes. Were you going to do that?
I'll get a different one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's good. It's good.
Okay.
I'll be back.
So I'm going to try to recite it before it comes up on my computer. It's called A Ritual to Read to Each Other. If you don't know the kind of person I am, and I don't know the kind of person you are, a pattern that others made may prevail in the world, and following the wrong God home, we may miss our star. For there is many a small betrayal in the mind, a shrug that lets the fragile sequence break, sending out with shouts the horrible errors of childhood storming out to play through the broken dike. And as elephants parade, holding each elephant's tail, but if one wanders, the circus won't find the park, I call it cruel, and maybe the root of all cruelty, to know what occurs, but not recognize the fact. And so I appeal to a voice, to something shadowy, a remote, important region in all who talk. Though we could fool each other, we should consider, lest the parade of our mutual life get lost in the dark. For it is important that awake people be awake, or a breaking line may discourage them back to sleep. The signals we give, yes or no or maybe, should be clear. The darkness around us is deep.
Yep. Mine's a little shorter. That was William Stafford, A Ritual to Read to Each Other. Mine's Galway Canal. I pulled it off my wall. It's called Prayer. Whatever happens, what is what I want. Only that, but that.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Our favorite Doctor Who, our favorite Doctor and our favorite companion. Golly, that's kind of changed for me over the years, but I guess I have to go with the one that I grew up loving, kind of like the Doctor that I first identified with, and that was Peter Davison. He's the one who had the celery on his thing, his coat. And my favorite companion, who I actually think I can explain a lot of my personality, you know who I'm going to say?
Yeah.
From this companion is Nyssa. She wore the most ridiculous, like, strawberry shortcake, sort of velvet, puffy sleeved outfit for most of the episodes she was in. But she was, like, as a child, seeing her, that's who I wanted to be. And her, this is a spoiler, but all of Doctor Who's companions eventually have to die or be left somewhere or choose to leave. And she chose to leave. Actually, this is ironic. She chose to stay on a planet where everyone was dying of a disease, but she has she's a scientist. She has some scientific knowledge, and she chose to stay. And in so doing, knowing that she was going to contract the disease. And I guess that's what I'm trying to do, contract the disease and heal it at the same time, or cure it. Yeah. What about you, David?
Well, I want to throw in real quick that it may be that during this time you need to write a lengthy essay on Nyssa. Because what better time?
Yeah.
And I think that your love and admiration for her, even as you were describing it just now, that enriches the tradition that is Doctor Who. So please consider doing that. My favorite probably has to be Tom Baker. He is maybe the most popular, but he's also the one who got through to me first. The first Doctor Who episodes I saw were Tom Baker. And there was a kind of, there was whimsy and there was humor and there was kind of righteous outrage that he would express in certain contexts, that a little like a character on St. Elsewhere or Quincy MD or something. I think I've tried to live up to that in my way, because when he's angry with someone, he's angry in a morally penetrating way. And I think I have tried to adopt his perspective and his hungering and thirsting for righteousness, I guess now, certainly most of my life. Companions, I don't know. Maybe Rose at the moment. Because Rose, like all of the companions, kind of appears before us as a student. She's being shown some things. She's being shown the wider universe, and she's making some choices about loving her family, her boyfriend Mickey, all of that, but she's choosing a larger conception of life than what had been normalized for her. And we watch that happen across a couple of regenerations. So for the moment, I'm going to say Rose.
She's pretty awesome. Lee had another question, but he had to leave. So he'll ask you another time.
Okay.
Lots of comments. David, since you mentioned Wendell Berry as something of a model for nonfiction, might you also see the ways the themes of his fiction and nonfiction, this is from Richard Bailey, might you see the ways the themes of his fiction and nonfiction writings explicitly intersect and overlap as a way to move forward in your own push toward fiction?
I think so. That's kind of helpful. The membership, the two that I go to the most of Wendell Berry are the poem How to Be a Poet and The Two Economies. And I like to tell my students that The Two Economies is an essay version of How to Be a Poet. And maybe the most famous line some of you might know from How to Be a Poet are, there are no unsacred places, there are only sacred places and desecrated places. And I think that is actually a very helpful tip, because I think that my fiction will be mostly centered in Nashville, because I think Nashville is embarrassing sometimes, But there's also a deep genius to Nashville at its best. And I think, as Faulkner tried to do with Oxford, and as Barry has tried to do with his immediate culture, this is embarrassing. I don't know if Port William is the name.
Yeah.
That's the actual name.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
no, wait. Port William is the fictional name
Yes.
of, is it Campbellsville?
I don't know.
Port Royal.
But
Port Royal.
Royal, that's right.
Wait, hold on. I think people are helping us. Is Port Royal the real place? Yes. Okay. Thanks. Go on.
Okay. Well, yeah, so I believe I can say that I love Nashville, the principality that is Nashville, the robot that is Nashville, on the prayer trade in Nashville, the marketing of God in Nashville, and country music. I mean, the folk music that was successfully commercialized as country and eventually takes us to Taylor Swift trying to keep Marsha Blackburn from becoming Tennessee's senator. I throw those two figures together because on the one hand, you might want to say, what does Marsha Blackburn have to do with Taylor Swift? But part of the drama of the Miss Americana Netflix film was Taylor Swift trying to figure out what it means to ring true when Tennessee itself is being pulled into a toxic place in our country's self-governance. So Nashville, I know I just went from Wendell Berry to Taylor Swift, but I think I do want my fiction to be signaling out of and within the Nashville nexus.
Bob Brandon points out that the Ryman itself is one of the oldest surviving examples of extravagant Christianity still out there.
Fantastic. That's really, really good. That's really, really good.
I get to keep all these so I can share them. You'll have to reference them in the book if you use it.
Cool. Okay.
Deborah Bloom asked, did David just say prayer trade when referring to Nashville?
I did.
And Bob would also suggest that Nashville is the new South for the 21st century. Reinvented, renewed.
I've referred to Nashville as the Vatican of the prayer trade.
Jason asks, because of your writing, this is not Jason Thurman, this is, and I'm sorry, I'm botching the last name, Deslongchamps. Because of your writing, I've wanted so deeply to appreciate Radiohead, but it just has not come for me. Do you have a band like that you would like to like, but it's just not happening for you?
Well, this is maybe my Enneagram 9 coming through. The bands that have not gotten through to me that way, I believe that they will with enough time. And Pearl Jam is a band like that. I love a few Pearl Jam songs, but I've assumed that if I've ever had world enough in time, I'm going to go deep with Pearl Jam. And I feel that way about all kinds of bands. Weezer, so many people that I love really love Weezer, but Weezer is largely lost on me, at least for now. But I'm eager to go all in. I'm kind of a completist with these things. If someone says, oh, you would really like this show, it's like, give me the first one, I'm going to go all the way through. I do that with authors as well. But yeah, maybe Pearl Jam is one, but maybe that doesn't fit as well because I do really like quite a lot of Pearl Jam.
I will mention this because some of the people listening know Jen Moyers. I went to a Pearl Jam concert with Jen in high school, but I had pink eye.
Oh.
So I wore a black eye patch. It
That
didn't.
needs to be a short story as well.
It didn't phase anyone.
Mm.
Isaac Tucker says, don't waste your time on Weezer. LOL. Gar says, Dave, you just need someone to leave some music on your front porch.
Well, let me throw in that my Arcade Fire love is largely the work of Gar. I fronted when it came to Arcade Fire. Like I was like, I don't know, too many people seem to like it. Gar insisted. And now they are up there with Radiohead and REM and U2 for sure, for me.
Bob says he was married a block from the Ryman. Bob, would that have been at DPC, Downtown Press? I'm wondering.
I bet so.
I bet it was, which is a gorgeous building. Michael Leary, for both of us. Is it a big deal to your academic work and way of being in the literary world that you are of the South?
I'll throw in that I was reading a lot when I was in college, but then when I went to work at the YMCA in Northern Ireland, I found a copy of Faulkner's The Unvanquished. And Faulkner, this is like REM as well. Both Faulkner and REM are these two, strange to call Faulkner an act, or Flannery O'Connor an act. But I can feel, I don't really feel this anymore, but I might have felt a kind of inferiority complex as a Southerner for a while. But I think that inferiority complex got overcome by way of a band like REM and an author like Flannery O'Connor. So now I would say that I claim them as my progenitors or elders or something. I think it was Ralph Ellison who said that you're stuck with your relatives, but you get to choose your ancestors. And I think that I do think of my ancestors as being part of that constellation of thoughtful people. Can anything good come from the South kind of thing? And I think that probably has given me a bit of an attitude sometimes, like I'm going to show them that I've got an important thing to say.
I haven't really thought until recently about this, but I left the South in 2005, and I kind of like you were saying, David, I think I have almost unconsciously had some sort of embarrassment about being from there that I haven't really addressed much. And not from my family or from my friends or people like O'Connor or any of the music, but something else that I don't fully, I think it's sort of the Southern charm, the sorority and fraternity. That must be you, David, I think. Kind of sugar sweet sappy lying bit, but that's not the South, and that's I kind of want to always counter that message. When I lived in the South, when I was teaching public school in Georgia, I was asked to be the voice of the recording for the answering machine at the school because they said I did not have a Southern accent. But I was very proud that I didn't have a Southern accent, which I think we get that pride from our mother. But it's very funny now because I definitely have a Southern accent. Our mother definitely has a Southern accent. But I guess compared to the people around us, we didn't have as thick of a one. And now though I like it. I like being from the South. I like that any traces of the Southern honey, any of that's left, not honey, but like the quality of your voice being like honey. I'm glad that I have that Yes, I think that my voice sounds like honey. Um, but the rest of that, it's actually something that I've been thinking about a little bit more. But I don't think that will be one of the main themes in my writing. It'll just sort of end up there every now and then. Oh, Bob Brandon was married in Central Church of Christ.
Hello.
Bob, we went there growing up.
There.
What?
We were baptized.
We
there.
we were immersed there.
Right.
Yeah, I wonder if you're going there now, because there's a lot of information coming out about that place. Anyway, that's really interesting, Bob. Really interesting. We should share stories. David and I have tons of them. Let's see. It's 5 o'clock. So I'm going through just to see if there's any. Okay, Bob was married there in 1994. I guess I will end on this question. Three good quarantine books for this time. What should we be reading, fiction or nonfiction? This is from Jazz Robertson. I guess we could maybe throw in poetry too.
Oh, yes. Okay.
But specifically, Jazz is asking for fiction or nonfiction.
Okay. I will throw in Left Hand of Darkness, Ursula K. Le Guin. I think Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower, which gives us the concept of earthseed, which is actually drawn from the Parable of the Sower is Jesus' Parable of the Sower, and earthseed is this a concept that kind of rolls through the book that I think helps us to think about sacred traditions as righteous intelligence that is available to us in apocalyptic times. So Ursula K. Le Guin's Left Hand of Darkness, Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower, and I think I want to say James Carse's Finite and Infinite Games. It's like a revolution on every page.
Yeah. I'd say Ilya Kaminsky's Deaf Republic. I don't know that mine are necessarily going to have anything to do with the actual moment that we're, maybe even they would be distraction. David, the book I gave you for Christmas, Duck.
I would have to step away. I can see it in the distance. You want me to grab it?
Go get that. Okay. And then my third, well, maybe this is related, and it's just on my mind. I picked it up. I pulled it off the shelf last week. Is Eula Biss's On Immunity? That's nonfiction, and it's just sort of taking this idea of community acts being something that would serve an individual's act being a service to the community. And I mean, I'll just say, I happen to be reading War and Peace because it was suggested as something that we could all read together during the shelter in place. And if you wanted to read War and Peace with people, Public Space is doing a Tolstoy Together blog, and you just commit to like 15 pages a day. Although at this point you would have to catch up just a little bit. Yeah, show the book. Yes, Duck, Newburyport.
By Lucy Ellman.
How are you doing in there?
Sarah is reading it, and it's that's where she is. I believe
it's almost just one sentence, kind of playing off of Ulysses, but it's not the same thing. But it's really great, and it was suggested to me by Natalie Shapiro, who's a poet who everyone should read. So those are my suggestions.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you to all of you for serving as our guinea pigs and listening to us talk. This was very helpful. And thanks for your patience as I was sort of scrolling and my eyeballs were all over the screen. And David, thank you for letting me do this with you.
I live for this kind of thing. I thank you.
Bye, everybody.